Hi everybody, it's John and Holly from Foodscaping Utah, and we just wanted to get on here live really quick and tell you about a new video series that we're starting. It's called One Bed Veg, and so what we're trying to do is demonstrate what we would do if we had just one 4x10 garden bed. We always tell people to start small with your garden, like maybe just one bed, and then once you do that and you do it well, it's can be a little less overwhelming, but you can still get a ton of food and a ton of production out of just this one bed.
So for bed prep in the 10 by 4 bed, last fall, the first thing that we did was add some coffee grounds, pulp, and some brown leaves, and then compost. And about a week ago, we put a sheet of greenhouse plastic over it on this row cover, and that's to get a head start because we were thinking for one bed is if you're going to grow just one bed, you can really do a lot to maximize production. So in this series, we're going to do everything that we would do, grow everything that we would grow, and try to get 2 crops out of most of the space. And with some season extension, you can do that. Most of our beds are built with 50-50 soil and compost. And then you can, especially if you do it in the fall, you can incorporate a lot of organic matter, like I was saying, like with the leaves and the coffee grounds. So now that the soil's warm, it feels early because it's March, but we're going to go ahead and plant peas. Before I do that, what else should I talk about?
If anybody has any questions, feel free to put them in the comments too, but will you just say what's the bed's made out of and
Oh
stuff?
yeah. Okay, so for bed construction, these are a 2x12 redwood frame, basically. And you can check out our YouTube video or on our website, foodscapingutah.org, to see how we built this. And then the other thing that you might be curious about is drip irrigation. You can see we have drip in here. We have a video and then a class that we filmed showing about how to do drip. So drip irrigation is fantastic. It's super efficient. It helps with health of the plants as well because you don't get the leaves wet. So we would encourage you to go for drip. So let's plant some peas. Peas are super fun to plant.
Do you want to tell what we're going to do for support for peas?
Oh yeah. So peas, this variety of peas is actually what we call a dwarf pea. It's called sugar bon. There's also a popular dwarf pea called sugar Ann that we like. The reason I mentioned dwarf peas is one thing that's kind of cool about them is they only grow maybe 2 feet high and then they already produce a crop. So they harvest, the harvest time is faster. So what we like to do is grow them on a little trellis that we're going to plan to plant squash or pumpkin or tomato, something that climbs after them. Does that make sense? So these peas we're planting now in March, and we'll start harvesting them in May, and by usually it's about the first week of June, they're already done. And at that point we can transplant in some squash. So that's the idea, the plan at least, for this end of the bed. And what we'll do to build a trellis, right now we're not going to build a trellis because we've got the low tunnel cover on it. But what we'll do is we'll build a trellis out of concrete wire mesh, it's usually called. You can see an example right over here. And this is like, it's 7 feet tall by 4 feet wide. And then this is 2x2 redwood. And then I think there's some twisty ties. Yeah, well, I think we're gonna need a new twisty tie.
But then we stapled it, right?
Yeah, there's also some staples in it. And then that'll be our trellis that we can grow. You know, it'll give some support to the dwarf peas. They don't need as much support as tall peas, but then we can grow the squash up onto that. So that'll be this end. And the other thing to note about where we placed it, that's on the north end. You wouldn't want a trellis on the south side because especially in the spring and the fall, that'll cast a shadow onto your bed. So kind of think about that. If it was on the east or west, you'd probably be okay as long as there isn't other shade to think about. So with these dwarf peas that grow a little smaller, don't get as tall, we usually space the seeds about 1 inch apart. But your seed packet is kind of the key. Like it'll tell you how to plant what, when to plant it. Okay, so I don't know, Holly. While I'm planting peas, I'll just do this. Will you tell them kind of some of the things we're going to grow in here?
Yeah, so we are kind of trying to do, like I said, we're trying to do what we would grow if we only had this much space to work with. So some of course, everybody's favorite thing to grow at home is tomatoes. So we're definitely gonna have tomatoes in there. We're gonna do some sauce tomatoes, which is one of our favorite things just because you can use them for so many different things. We're gonna put a summer squash in there. We don't know which one yet, I don't think. We're gonna put for the spring, we're not only gonna have the peas, but we're gonna have greens. So if you're here in Utah or anywhere where you have really 4 seasons, your greens, like your lettuce, your spinach, things like that you'll wanna do in the spring. They'll get bitter in the summer. So we are gonna have peas, lettuce, spinach, beets. We're gonna have carrots in there. We're gonna have some onions in there. We're gonna have some herbs. We're gonna have some flowers to attract beneficial insects.
We got room for marigolds, I think.
Marigolds.
In the plan. And I have a sketch that I'll try to put out if anybody wants to see kind of the plan. But yeah, you know, the cool season crops, we like to choose ones like peas and Holly mentioned spinach and lettuce. We like to choose ones that will produce really well in the cool spring. And then here in Utah especially, as soon as, those of you in Utah know, as soon as July hits, it's usually really hot and dry. Or excuse me, June. Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Exactly.
Beginning of June, really, you kind of see that transition. So that's when you want to get the peas and lettuce and spinach out of there. So we're trying to get most of the things. The tomatoes, they like to have a long season. So tomatoes are an exception where we'll plant them early with the low tunnel and then also potentially a wall of water. They're also called Cozy Coat. There's a bunch of different brands, but basically the idea is it's a pyramid of water that insulates the tomato because it's frost hardy. So we get a lot of early warmth from the low tunnel, from the cover. Like one thing that's great about it is even if it's cold, it'll warm up in here really early in the morning. And that wakes the plants up, and photosynthesis is a lot more efficient when the temperature's up higher, so that the spinach will really get going. But it doesn't hold heat at night. So if you have a frost sensitive crop like tomatoes, you still need to protect it even with the plastic. So you think of any more questions?
I don't think so. I don't think anybody had questions. But what we'll do is we'll try to keep you guys updated every time we put something in this bed or every time we take something out of this bed. And then we'll put it all together so next year you'll be able to follow the whole thing. But we thought it'd be kind of fun to show you kind of how it looked as we go. So awesome. Do you have anything else to say?
No, I think that's it. Get excited. Plan your garden.
Spring's in the air.
Spring's in the air. Yeah, it's going to be fun. Yeah, and plant something. Let us know if you have questions.
Great.
Thanks for watching.